Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Paul Pierce, and so many others were kings of the NBA mid-range. Today I'm going to be talking to you about why the mid-range game is a lost art, why it's so important, and why so many basketball players and basketball teams need to find a way to reintegrate this lost art form back into the game. This is Charles here from Dreamers Pro. I want to welcome you to the channel. Let's get into the content. So today we're going to be talking about the mid-range game. Yes, that is the lost art in the NBA and why it's so important. Now I'm going to be talking about the pioneers of the mid-range and why I think we as basketball fans need to demand more of it, and basketball players need to learn how to integrate it into their game because it's such an integral part of basketball. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now the first person, not the first, but the person that a lot of people know for the mid-range is, yes, himself, his airness, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a master, a magician of the mid-range. He could pull up going left, he could pull up going right, he can shoot over either shoulder, and he basically made the fadeaway shot so popular. Michael Jordan was really the one that was the trendsetter because of the way he played. He was a very graceful player when he played basketball, but his mid-range game is what really separated him from all of his peers. Now, back then when he was playing in the late 80s and early 90s, you know, the three-point line wasn't so prevalent. A lot of people weren't paying attention to the three-point line like they do today. So there weren't any Steph Currys, James Hardens, and all of these different players that were focusing on the mid-range. So Michael Jordan and other players like him really used to get a lot of their points, a lot of their offense used to come out of the mid-range. Moving on later down, the next king of the mid-range, he came into the league around the same time this other king came in. That's Kobe Bryant and Paul Pierce. Now, a lot of you out there may not be, you know, up to date on Paul Pierce because he recently retired. But for me, as a 32-year-old, I remember watching Paul Pierce, Kobe, and all of these guys when I was in high school. And I remember us coming to school every day just arguing about, like, man, who's better, Tracy McGrady, Paul Pierce, Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe, as you all know, is the king of the mid-range. Now, I believe Kobe was actually a better perimeter player than Michael Jordan. However, Jordan was right up there. Paul Pierce was another great mid-range player because you see at the time, as I said before, in the early 2000s, they weren't the emphasis was not on the three-point line. So these players needed to be really, really good jump shooters, and that's what Kobe was. So Kobe Bryant was definitely another king of the mid-range, and so was Paul Pierce. If you watch a lot of his highlights and you see the way that Paul Pierce plays, he plays very methodically. He's not in a rush, but he understands his spots and where he needs to get to, and he uses his size and his strength to bump defenders off of him and pull up and shoot the mid-range shot. And that's what made him so deadly, because he could shoot the three ball, he could post up, but it's that mid-range game that really put a lot of jeopardy on defenses, because they knew that this guy, you know, because of his mid-range, you have to pay attention to him and come up on him, and that would allow him to just drive around the player and go straight to the basket and, you know, create foul situations for the opposing team. So that's Paul Pierce. Another king is Paul George. Now, Paul George is one of, you know, the best basketball players in the world, and he also is a great jump shooter. If you watch the way that he shoots, he's really, really good at jump shooting. I mean, he has a very pure shot. He's really good at it, and he gets a lot of his offense from the mid-range. And then we also have, yes, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is also a great post player. A mid-range player. He can shoot really well from the mid-range, and he gets a lot of his offense from the mid-range. And that's what also makes him so versatile, because, you know, he doesn't just have to rely on three-point shots. He's really, really good at the mid-range too. Another king that we have coming in is Klay Thompson. Now, Klay Thompson is a pure, straight-up knockdown shooter. Yes, he's known for shooting a lot from the three-point line, but if you watch his game, his offense, a lot of his offense sometimes also comes from the mid-range. Klay Thompson is a pure shooter. He can kill you from the mid-range, and he gets a lot of his offense from him. So a lot of jump shooters out there, I'm sure you guys will be, you know, you pay a lot of attention to the way, you know, Klay Thompson plays, and that's what really makes him so good as a basketball player, because he's able to create all of these situations from himself. Another person that's really good is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving got game for days, y'all. This dude can ball. And if you watch him how he plays, he's like a miniature Kobe Bryant without the size. Yeah, I know he's like 6'2", 6'3". Kobe was 6'6", but Kyrie Irving can ball like you wouldn't believe it. And you better believe that he's also a great mid-range NBA king. And he, every time he goes out there, he kills it. And these are my favorite basketball players. There's so many others that I'm leaving out of this video, but I just wanted to focus on these people. Now, why is this so important? I think the basketball players should integrate this into their game. Let me just quickly say, I'm not a basketball player. I sucked at basketball when I was in high school. I just really love watching basketball. That's just how I am. I'm a big fan of the NBA. And I think it's so important because you see what's happening is now as defenses, everybody is really falling in love with the three-point shot and analytics and all of this. It doesn't hurt to have the mid-range in your game because it sets you apart from other players. You can add other threats to the court, like Kobe did, like Michael Jordan did, like Kyrie did, like Paul Pierce did, like Paul George did, and so many great other players. That's why I believe the mid-range is really, really important. Now, this is just my list. I definitely want to hear what your list is, but if I mentioned any one of your favorite players in this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it with someone, and leave a comment below and let us know who your favorite king of the mid-range are. With that being said, this is Charles here. Peace.